What's up, fam, and welcome to another episode of the Wanderlust Wealth Show. Today, we have a very special guest. Now, the guest is John Capo. He's actually a friend of mine from college, so we've known each other for a very, very long time. But he, last year, quit his job to travel the world for at least a year. And guess what method has actually helped him do that? House hacking. Now, John's been house hacking for years now, going on 7 years at this point, and that's allowed him to really create his nest egg while also building wealth in real estate and now putting his job in traveling the world. But the thing is that he's not just traveling the world, he's doing it with a mission. So his whole thing is he's actually running marathons while he's traveling the world, also that he can raise $10,000 for the free-to-run nonprofit organization. Now, the organization provides running workshops and leadership and wellness programs to the women of Iraq, Afghanistan, and Palestine. And they wouldn't have the opportunity to do so if it weren't for this organization. And I'm just so excited so you can see how you can do it too, even with just one property. Okay, let's get into the show. Okay, John, where are you right now?
Hi, Olivia. I'm here in Melbourne, Australia right now, where it's already tomorrow.
Oh my gosh, yeah, what time is it?
8 in the morning, not too early.
Okay, that's not too bad, not too bad. Oh my gosh, John, like literally, I think following your journey over the last few years has been awesome to watch. I think you probably been to more countries than I have at this point. Like, do you know how many countries you've been to?
Yeah, I may have squeezed past you. It's in the 60s. Yeah, it's getting close to 70.
You're past me then. I'm still at 56. Oh dear. Oh my gosh. Well, John, I would love, just because you're a regular dude, right? I think like a lot of the time when people see people investing in real estate, right, they're like, I could never do that. But I don't think no one realizes that every day, just regular people are doing this all the time. So can you just kind of walk people through where you were before you purchased your first property? Like what you were doing, where you were, and what was that decision to actually buy the first place?
Yeah, absolutely. So I know Olivia from living in Houston, Texas, and I've lived there my entire life. So I graduated from university in 2016 and was working in Houston for several years. And I never liked any of the apartments that I lived in. Every time I would live for 12 months and say, screw this place, I got to get out to somewhere else. And then repeat that whole cycle.
Well, and you lived in pretty nice places, like high rises with a good view, I feel like, right?
For the most part, yeah. I mean, first place, my problem was that I tried to move just after Hurricane Harvey. And so both the first place and the second place were pretty seriously impacted. But eventually, by the third apartment that I lived in, I started to think, okay, I'm not really planning on moving out of Houston anytime soon. And so the economics would dictate that it would make sense to buy a property pretty soon here. And I was fortunate that my roommate at the time was still interested in living with me for at least 1 year. And so I knew that if I was going to buy a home, that I would have rental income coming in from one person for 1 year. And I'm pretty well connected. I know people in Houston from various stages of my life, obviously. So I have the potential to be able to rent a room out beyond just that 1 year as well.
Yeah, completely. Because I mean, like you said, you grew up in Houston. We both met in college there as well. And so it's not like, I think a lot of the time people get so worried about roommates, and it's like, well, who do you know? Like in the place that you're living in, right? Like it could be anyone from a coworker to someone from college to a cousin. Like anyone can be your roommate, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And I am very fortunate that I haven't yet had to draw on the internet to find people, the open web, right? Craigslist roommates or any of that. I've had a few friends of friends that have joined in to Casa Capo, as we call my house. But for the most part, it's been friends of mine. It's been people I've known from university or from growing up, or even my brother that have lived at the house.
I love that. Okay, so what kind of a house did you buy? And would you be comfortable sharing just like what kind of loan you purchased? Was it a conventional loan? Did you put 20% down? Did you put like what was your strategy?
Yeah, and I could potentially even share some of what I wish I would have done differently.
Yes, that would be amazing.
Yeah, so when I was first shopping, I had this sort of ceiling for what I wanted to spend, and it wasn't too high. And so when I was doing all of my research, my focus was mostly on 2 bed, 2 bath. Maybe you'd find 2.5 bath if you were lucky. But I realized if I upped my max budget, maybe $20,000, that I could get a 3 bed, 3.5 bath place instead. And I thought in the long term, right, if there's that extra room, there could be that extra potential for income, or it could even just be a guest room if there's not someone renting out a room at any particular time. So as
Totally. Well, and so
Go ahead.
another thing there too is even just you taking the step to like do the research and realize like, oh, if I spend an extra 20,000, then I can buy something bigger, and it's also easier to sell on the back end a 3 bedroom versus a 2 bedroom. So just I think having that foresight, a lot of the time people are just so set on their max number, right? Or even what they want to spend, but they haven't done the research to see where the opportunity is, right? Because let's say you put 3%, let's say you went with a 3% down loan. If you did a 3% down loan of $20,000, that's not that much money. And so you could pay a couple extra grand or a few extra $1,000s and get a property that has even more potential.
Yeah, and that's kind of what I wish I did a little bit differently, right? I was keen on putting 20% down so I didn't have to pay the extra mortgage interest. And so that sort of is what dictated my budget ceiling. But that mortgage interest, doing the math, I think it would have been only around $20 a month or something
Yep.
like that.
Yep.
So money that I would have been able to afford. So I probably could have gone quite a bit higher with the amount that I spent on the house. And as a result, I bought a house that was built in 2007. So 18 years old means, and this is in 2019 that I bought the house 6 years ago. So it's gone from 12 to 18 years, which means a lot of the appliances have reached the end of their lifetimes. So one fun one was having to get the air conditioner replaced, whole unit replaced during the worst of the Houston summer, like
Oh
107 degrees
man.
outside or something like that.
Oh boy, that's brutal. But yeah, I mean it. And so I'm curious for you, where did that idea of the 20% come down? Like, did you have people telling you to put 20% down, or was it just like something I don't know if you remember since it's been a while ago, but I'm always just curious.
I sort of think in a very frugal mentality, right? And I think about the total amount that I am spending on this house in the grand scheme of things. And, it may not be what people would advise, but I also went with the 15-year mortgage just because I'd love to be able to pay it off sooner. I love the fact that the rate was lower. And especially since I hopefully, right, will have rental income coming in to cover the expenses, that I can handle that slightly higher percentage, higher amount payment per month.
Totally. So I'm going to say, and this is me like not necessarily even coaching right now, but if we were to go back, I actually would have just put that on a 30-year mortgage and paid towards the principal. Like just paid extra towards the principal because you can pay it
Right.
off still within 15 years and not have to pay that extra interest. But that way you still have a little bit of more wiggle room because you have the lower interest rate in case anything happened. But I digress. That's
Yeah, well, and I was doing, even over the current payment for 15-year, I was putting in some extra principal. But I'm not doing that anymore since I don't have a job anymore, which we can get into that
Oh my
details
gosh, I
in a
didn't
little
know
bit.
this.
Yeah.
This is great. I love it when people either quit their jobs or even lose their jobs sometimes because I'm like, opportunity for so much more. Oh my gosh. Okay, well, so I guess if you had to go back though, what would you have changed about this property? What would you have purchased? Would you have done a slightly different strategy? What do you think?
I think I could have upped the budget by at around $100,000.
Okay.
And that gotten something with a few less issues, right? You get the inspection report before you buy the property, and it looks all doom and gloom, and they found every little stair railing that's too close to the wall and is a danger to children or something. But a lot of these things that you probably won't ever have to fix. I wasn't too scared by that. But again, as I dealt with roof issues or new appliances, it would have been nicer to get a home that was at least a few years newer. And again, put a little bit more into the budget up front. I'm in a townhouse, right? If I didn't make that clear earlier, that it's one of the three bedroom, 3-story townhouses. That it was probably years ago some small house with a big yard, and now it's 6 homes all on one lot, which I enjoy. Don't get me wrong, but something I didn't necessarily realize before is that obviously with the value of a home being the value of the land plus the dwelling, when you're in a townhome, that land is so much less. So the value of the home doesn't grow, not exponentially, it doesn't skyrocket quite as much as it would if you have a larger house in the suburbs or something like that with a bunch of land.
Completely. Yeah. Well, and I mean, it depends on the location as well. And it depends on the market in general. I mean, for me with townhomes, I personally like either just like standalone single families or like duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, but you own the whole building, you know? That's like my go-to because I like having full control over everything as well. But yeah, it's such a good point that you make in terms of buying a newer property. So I've got like 2 pretty newish properties, maybe 3 years old, and then a few other older properties. And the older properties are so much more of a pain in the butt. So it's like, unless you go in and your plan is to genuinely like go in and renovate most of the things, like update the appliances, update the roofing, you can bake that in. Like there are so many amazing loans that allow you to do that for very little money down, like FHA. You can do the FHA 203K loan, 3.5% down on the property plus renovations. I'm like, go do that. Like go renovate right off the bat, right? That way, you know that you're going into it with newer appliances and stuff, you know?
Yeah. That's a very good point. And it's been nice to make some updates to the home. I've made a few that will absolutely outlast my ownership of the house. I built this nice wood deck in my backyard. It's not a huge backyard, maybe 16 by 14 feet, but I covered half of it with a wood deck so that it's a nicer space to have outside. And then actually just last year, I got solar panels installed on the roof. So that's really helping cut the electric bill down. And it wasn't too painful. We've had a big push. We have had a big push in Houston for more solar, and I just did my taxes, got a nice return back for that one as well.
Hey girl, real quick. If you have been dreaming of living life on your own terms, then listen up. Okay. I created a free course that shows you exactly how to buy a rental property using your 75K plus corporate salary and at least $10,000 in savings. That's with no trust fund, no rich boyfriend, no daddy's money, no hundreds of thousands of dollars sitting in the bank, just strategy, confidence, and a step-by-step plan. Now, in this free course, I'm going to be teaching you the number one strategy that is working for newbies in today's market. I'm also going to teach you how to spot a good deal and how to replace your corporate income with passive real estate income, escape the corporate hamster wheel, and not be dependent on your corporate job to survive. Now, this is for 3 kinds of people. This is for you if you are stuck in a job that you do not love, secretly dreaming of more freedom, more travel, and more peace in your bank account. Or Or maybe you're currently a digital nomad looking for more grounding and wealth building without losing the ability to travel. Or maybe you're a business owner or a corporate girly who just sees the volatility in the market and you just want to diversify your income. If any of those sound like you, then go ahead, go get the free course now. The link is in the show notes, or just go to oliviatati.com/free course. That's oliviatati.com/free course. Trust me, this could change your life. I love that. I know I put solar panels on mine about a year ago as well. So I feel that. But I love that you also just chose to do the roommate strategy. So I think like a lot of people are so hesitant to do the roommate strategy, right? They're like, I don't want people living with me, yada, yada, yada. So how have you been able to navigate that and manage that? And what would you say are the pros and cons for anyone who is considering doing this strategy?
So, as I said, the first roommate was someone who I was living with before, and I don't know whether to call them roommates or tenants because they are, for the most part, friends of mine, but they are also helping pay my mortgage, right?
Yeah.
And the first guy ended up staying in the bottom room for 4 full years.
Wow.
That was really helpful. But the third room had a lot of turnover month over month. And so I think one big benefit of me as a casual homeowner renting rooms out is that I can have a lot more flexibility with leasing agreements with people than an apartment ever would. And so I do have the tenants sign a contract, right? It's pretty informal, but among the things that we agree on, we say that if you weren't to leave, you have to give me a 30-day notice. And if for some unforeseen reason I have to kick you out, maybe I'm selling the home or something, I have to give you at least a 60-day notice. Yeah. And so that's really all it's taken. And some people have just been in between moving out of the city and leaving their apartment and moving out of Houston, something like that. I just need a place for 3 months. Perfect. I've got a room for you. And I've connected a friend of a friend. I've had a few people who, just needed 1 month at a time. Or during COVID, I had a friend leave New York City and come to Houston because the atmosphere towards COVID was a little bit more chill in Houston. Although, I guess right now, the two other friends that I have living there, one's been there for more than 2 years and one's been there for almost 2 years.
Amazing.
So, and that's one reason I never raised the rent, is that I'm here to get lifetime customer value, right?
Yeah.
Like, if we're both happy and you can keep paying me rent, then I would much rather have that consistent flow of income than get an extra $50 a month. Yeah.
Oh, for sure. For sure. And so the tenants that you have right now, does the rent cover the mortgage right now, or are you paying a little bit out of pocket as well?
Well, if you consider how darn high our property taxes are in Texas, then not quite. But if I were to rent my third room, obviously it would. And as I mentioned, I have a 15-year note, so it's a bit higher. But when you consider the amount of equity I'm gaining on the home every month, it's certainly netting me in black.
Oh, completely. And I mean, the thing is too, is even if you're coming out of pocket a little bit, right? You still have this place that's paying for itself. You could instead be renting somewhere that's probably more expensive, right? And you still have the opportunity to rent out your room if you wanted to, right? Where you could be net zero on the property. And that's why I love this strategy, just because it gives you options. And let's say for whatever reason, for example, I know right now you don't have a job, but let's say you lost your job and were in a dire financial situation, right? You wouldn't even have to sell the property. You could move in with family and just rent out your room, and you've got it covered, and you still have an asset that you can tap into,
Yeah. And right now it's nice to know that if I want to go home, I have my room. It's going to look just like I left it a few months ago, right?
Yeah. Exactly. So, yeah. So you have been doing this the right way, in my opinion, in the sense that you just have, you have this house, but basically travel, I would say, what, 50% of the year? More than that, maybe?
Yeah, it's been a very interesting ride. So to sort of give the brief version of what my career has looked like, um, I've worked remotely my entire career, so well before COVID. But when I started my second job in 2021, it was still sort of that deep COVID period where there was no expectation that anyone would be working in an office ever again. And a lot of my coworkers were actually in Tel Aviv in Israel. So as long as I could log onto my Zoom calls, no one really knew or cared where I was logging in from. And so I used that opportunity to just sort of work and travel the world and know that I had um, money coming in at my house and know that I had people who were able to check the mail, water the plants, make sure that the house doesn't burn down, all of that kind of stuff. And that really afforded me some interesting opportunities. And I think, like everyone else, we all want to quit our jobs and travel the world for a while. And for the longest time, I thought that when I bought the house, there was no way that I was going to be able to do that, since it's such a financial obligation that you have. But eventually, as 2024 started to roll around and I had two good friends as roommates that didn't seem like they were going anywhere, I started to kind of pitch this idea to them and say, "Hey guys, if I were to take an entire year off from working to travel, do you think there's any chance you're going to leave? Do you think that we would be able to make this work as a team?" And here we are now. I left my job in July, and it's been just about 8 months since then, and I it's gone pretty smoothly so far.
That's amazing. Okay, so what prompted really the leaving, and then where have you gone and what have you done? Because I know one thing that's really cool that you've been doing is running all around the world basically. So just tell me a little bit about that journey.
Yeah. So as I said, it's been a dream since I started my career to do this. And it was one of the considerations when buying a house that, oh, I probably won't be able to travel the world while I'm paying the mortgage on this house. But as my finances got a bit more secure through having rented out the house over the years, I started to think maybe this is possible, especially with two close friends living with me. And I was in a place with my job where my team was sort of taking a direction that I was not so interested in. And I'm very lucky to have experience so that I haven't tried yet, but I think that I'll be able to find another job in the technology world when I'm ready to go back to having a normal career. But I guess one other thing, as I said, I'd been working while traveling for a while, but I was having to work Texas hours.
Yeah.
And so I could work from Europe pretty easily. I would just be working in the afternoon and evenings instead of the mornings and the afternoons. And of course, I spent plenty of time traveling around the US, Canada, Latin America a bit. But a lot of countries in Asia, I really, really have wanted to explore for a long time. And I don't want to attempt to work US hours from India.
Yeah.
I'd be staying up all night, and I would sacrifice both on the work front and on sleep and even on the sightseeing front. And so ultimately, I decided at the end of June to put in my notice and to step out into the great unknown. And I wanted to have a mission beyond just
Travel.
I'm doing this because I want to see the world.
Yeah.
And I before this journey, one of my challenges for myself was to run up and down every single street inside of Houston's 610 loop. And that was an epic journey, gave me this incredibly new lens and perspective on a city that I've called home for the rest of my life, for my entire life, really. And I wanted to go bigger and better. Obviously, that's hard to do. That was a big challenge already. But I can go back in my journal to January of 2024, and you can see kind of the first time where I wrote down, I want to travel the world and run 25 marathons in 25 countries.
Oh, I love that.
And I discovered shortly after having that idea, this organization called Free to Run, which organizes sports and leadership programs for young women in conflict zone countries, specifically Iraq, Afghanistan, and Palestine. And as soon as I saw it, I knew this is an organization that means so much to me, right? Supporting human rights, supporting women's rights through running, through my favorite hobby, right? And August 1st was my first solo marathon that I ran in Uzbekistan, and I've been cranking them out ever since. I've gotten 24 done in about 8 months, which means the next one is 25, and I'll
Where's
finish
the 25th gonna be?
I'm hoping to do it today in Melbourne.
Wait, today? What?
Yeah.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness.
So I'm gonna have to make a real sentimental post once I get it done.
So are you running a solo marathon, or are you running like a group marathon?
Well, see, that's the thing, is if I was paying for a race every single time,
fair.
They're not as expensive around the world as they are in America, but you might still be paying $100 for a race. So they've all just been put the bag on, get the hydration, get the snacks, get the electrolytes, maybe some money if I need to pay for something or buy a new water bottle as I'm going through it. But they've all been self-supported. Although today should be a good one, because I have a friend here in Melbourne and she's a runner, and she said she would join me for, we'll see exactly how much, 15K. She said a while, like 10 miles, something like that.
Okay. So, wait, that's awesome. Oh my goodness. Well, good luck today.
Yeah, I like to think they've gotten easier, but
no, literally, I've run 2 half marathons, and after that, I said I'm never running again in my life. So I'm not a runner. It's just not my thing. We're not doing it. So.
Well, what's been really great for me is, of course, it's a physical challenge, but I love to explore the world, of course, and even geography and going through Google Maps is a pastime of mine that I'll never get tired of. And so this challenge of defining a route in some city or in some national park that will take me through a bunch of interesting places and good sites. And if you've got me on Instagram, you see I film a video of every single one. I film a reel of every marathon that I do. And so that's what I was working on yesterday, is where can I go around Melbourne that I won't have to stop at too many lights, but I'll also get to see a lot of the interesting sites around the city. So I think I've got a pretty good one planned. It's not, I don't always stick to it perfectly. Sometimes I see a good jogging track and I say, I'll take a few extra laps around this one. I like this jogging track. It's not like a formal race route where it's completely set in stone, although it does mean I have to stop a lot more than I would if I was running a formal race.
If you've been following me for a while, you know that I absolutely love fashion. Like, I am always in bright, colorful clothes. I'm just a bright and colorful human. Even right now, I'm wearing a fabulous green dress, if you can see me on YouTube. But I also just go to a ton of different conferences and retreats and events, and I'm always wearing something different. And everyone always asks me, Olivia, where do you get your clothes from? Now, this isn't some Instagram influencer thing where it's like, oh yeah, everyone asks me. No, actually, everyone does ask me where I get all of my clothes from. And the funny thing is, I actually got rid of half of my closet years ago whenever I started nomading because I just hate clutter and don't want a ton of stuff. And I'm just not like a stuff girl. And 80% of the time, I'm actually wearing rented clothes from Nuuly. Yes, this fabulous green dress that I'm wearing right now is from Nuuly. I know, I don't actually buy clothes like ever, really. I mainly rent. And that's because, number one, I get bored of clothes easily and I like to change my clothes all the time. That's why I am legitimately always in a new dress. Number two is I hate clutter. Like, I just hate having a crazy full closet where I can't find anything and it's just such a mess. And then number three, I am always traveling. And sometimes it's hard to pack a bunch of different stuff in clothes. And I like to travel light. I also take a lot of pictures of myself. So I like to be in different outfits. And sometimes I even get the rental sent to wherever I'm traveling to. That way I don't even have to pack it with me. And this way I just get to wear way nicer clothing than I usually buy. Like, literally over the last 3 years, I have rented over $150,000 worth of clothes, but I've spent less than a tenth of that actually on clothing. And that's why I absolutely love Nuuly, because they have so many different things, so many fun items. I love that they have really fabulous brands like Farm Rio and sometimes even McDougall, which is a luxury brand. I've rented $1,000 dresses from them for the same price as my membership. And it's great because they have super classic items, but they also have fun staples in there too. Because you can rent everything from dresses to coats to everyday outfits like jeans. Now, you're actually in luck right now because I have a special link where you can actually try a Nuuly subscription and get $30 off of your first month subscription. So use the link in the show notes below to try Nuuly out, or go in and type oliviatati.com/Nuuly. That's Nuuly. And I have a discount code in there. Go ahead, try it out. Let me know how you like it. It has been a total game changer for me to level up my wardrobe. So go check out Nuuly. Remember, oliviatati.com/Nuuly, or go use the link in my show notes. There. No, I love that so much. And I love that you talk about like having a mission while traveling, right? Because so many people kind of dream of this. I'm going to quit my job and travel the world. But I don't think people realize like it gets kind of boring after a while if you don't have a purpose behind it. As someone who is kind of just like cuddle ties and just gone traveling a lot in my life. Like, it gets to a point where you're like, okay, I've kind of seen all the same things and I don't really have a purpose. But even like, I think about a lot of the trips that I go to, like, unless I'm going with friends and we're just going for a like friend trip where, you know, you don't really have any plans, but especially if it's a solo trip, I generally also need like some sort of a purpose behind it. That like, I'm not just going to go, I'm going to specifically do this one hike that's been on my list forever and it's been a bucket list item. Or I really want, like, I'm going to Italy because I'm starting to look at properties to buy in Italy. So that's like a fun like activity for me to go actually do over there, right? Versus just like, well, I'm just bopping around. Nothing wrong with bopping around, but it's more so when you have this vision and this idea of like quitting the world and going to travel, usually having something, some cool thing that you're working towards helps a lot.
Absolutely. I certainly feel the lack of structure in my life these days, right? When I was working while traveling, there was a strong sense of urgency to get out and sightsee in the morning before I would go to work in the afternoon and evenings. And now that I have complete control of my schedule, if I don't have any plans for today, I could just as easily sleep in or spend the first 2 hours of my day scrolling. And so I try to find artificial ways to add that urgency. Typically, it's just by booking a flight out of somewhere before I've gotten there.
Yeah.
I meet a lot of travelers who say, yeah, I got to this hostel today and I'm just going to keep extending my stay by 1 day until I'm ready to go. That's not me. I'm the total opposite. I always say, all right, I've got exactly 4 days in this city. And once I go, I'm gone. And if I want to go back in the future, then I will. And I've gotten a good list of places that I really like and really want to go back to from this trip. And I've also got a list of places that I'm happy if I don't ever make it back.
Totally. Oh my gosh, I feel that so hard. So I guess how much longer do you think you'll try? Like, especially since you're kind of ending the 25 today. So what are your next plans?
It's a very good question.
Yeah.
It's
You're
still
like, I
a work
wasn't
in
ready for
progress.
this one.
Well, at the beginning, I told myself 1 year, August through July. And I do have global health insurance. I did get a 1 year contract from August through July for global health insurance. I don't quite think that's going to be enough. I think that I'm going to want to at least extend it for a couple more months,
Yes.
because also, why would I go back to Houston in August when it's
Yeah.
completely unlivable? So my birthday's in November, so I think trying to get back home before my birthday, end of October, November sort of time frame is probably the right thing. Try and find a way to do month to month on the global health insurance so that I mean, I'm doing all of this running and hiking. Like, I know that I could have a bad step anywhere at any time. Um, but the destinations are still up in the air. I've only got a few weeks planned ahead of me. I'm kind of keen on trying to go back for a couple weeks in the summer to Houston to see a
Mhm.
few friends'
I was
graduations.
gonna say, why are you going in the summer?
That's
But
the only
that's
reason I would go
acceptable. That's
back is for some
acceptable.
graduations. I did make it back to Houston for Christmas and New Year's. Um, I thought it would be way too expensive, but I actually found a decent flight from New Delhi to Houston and back. And so it was very refreshing and rejuvenating after 2 months in India
Yes.
to be back to the comforts that I know
Yeah.
in Houston. And I was very felt strong and motivated and recharged as I went back, because obviously there is a little bit of that travel burnout from time to time where it's just another waterfall. It's just
Yep.
another temple. I've seen so many of these in the last week. I don't see it with the same passion that I would if I hadn't been traveling for months.
Totally.
So I
I know
felt
that's like I refuse to go. Like I have a list. It's like churches, like a lot of museums, like a lot of what is it, temples. I just don't go.
I mean, some places that's the main attraction.
I
So
know
if
it
you're gonna go,
depends
you
on the
got to.
place. It depends on the place. If it like I remember, for example, I went to go see Machu Picchu. Any other ruins, I refuse. Oh.
Yeah. So now I've tried. It was a bit harder when I was in the Kazakhstans and Uzbekistans and the Indias of the world to meet up with people. But now that I've been in East Asia, Oceania, where I know a few more people, I've been trying to kind of organize the route around events and where I know people. So the next thing I'm excited for is the Songkran Festival in Thailand, which is their
Ooh.
big Buddhist New Year festival where they have massive water gun fights and
Yes, wait,
a
I've
bunch
seen
of
that.
EDM music. Yeah. So that's in a little over 2 weeks that I'll be making it up there. And then I'll have to decide what the next plan is after Bangkok.
Oh my gosh, I love that so much. And I just love that you really you really planned it out, right? I would say like when I quit my job, I did not plan it out. I just had full faith that I would figure it out. But you really took the methodical way of doing it, and I love that like real estate was a part of that journey for you as well, just in terms of like comfortability, in terms of just having that like, especially with traveling, so many people think that they need to burn all the bridges and just go travel and that they'll never be able to build wealth because of it. But like you are literally a living testament showing that you can do it while still being like financially savvy, building wealth, and like setting yourself up for your future.
I will share one very funny story
Yeah.
that makes it clear that it's not all sunshine and rainbows, though. Um, it's ironic because it was literally the day that I was planning to start this trip. It was the same day that Hurricane Beryl rolled
Oh
through
boy.
Houston last year. And of course, the hurricane cancels my first flight from Houston to New York City. And then my flight to Central Asia, I wasn't able to make because of that. But not only that, I had roof damage from the
Oh
storm.
man.
And yeah, it just figured, and every possible thing went wrong, right? Like, as I mentioned, my home being 18 years old, it was at the point where there was a depreciation schedule with my home insurance for how much of the roof damage they would cover. Uh, and I had just gotten the solar panels installed 4 months before. And if the panels were damaged, the company would have taken them down and replaced them for free.
Yeah.
But the panels were fine. It was just the rest of the roof that was damaged.
No.
So I had to pay to get, and with it being a 3-story house, they have to get one of the scissor lifts out to come and take them down. So I had to pay to get the panels taken down, get the roof replaced, get the panels put back up. It was a very expensive start to quitting my job to travel the world, but I've got a financial cushion for these sort of things, and of course, on my taxes, these are expenses that I can report towards the deductions from the rental income. So I like to at least find a silver lining from it.
No, I love that. And that is so, and it's so, isn't it so funny how whenever we have these like big goals and plans that we're doing, there's always something that happens. I call it the upper limit problem. If you haven't read the book, The Big Leap by Gay Hendricks, I think his name is, he kind of talks about that whenever you're like hitting that upper limit in terms of something big that you're about to do. It's so common to have just like everything fall apart. So now
I haven't read it, but I just added it to my list. Yeah, it happens to everyone, right?
Exactly. Well, John, this has been awesome. We're going to quickly go into the final 3 interview questions that I ask everyone. Number 1, what does your ideal perfect day look like?
Ooh, ideal perfect day. It would. So I'm an afternoon runner. That would definitely be the afternoon. It would start with a nice coffee and a sweet and savory breakfast. I'm a big breakfast guy too. When I have the time, there would probably be some downtime for reading and just browsing the web, learning a little bit about the world. But then there would also be some sort of adventure. I mean, maybe it would even be a day like today where I get to start with recording a podcast with a friend, and I get to end it by running an adventure marathon. I'm hoping to go to a museum in between now and then. So I'm thinking today's going to be a pretty nice day as well. I'm not a crazy nightlife person. I love a good craft beer now and then, but I'm not, going to cocktail bars every night.
I feel that.
Like that. I would much rather get a good night's sleep and wake up nice and early.
I know, it's shocking. I used to be the biggest party girl, and now I party never. I am pretty much sober all the time except for weddings.
I remember, but I've seen the change, and it's influenced you for the better for sure.
Who'd have thought? Baby Olivia at 21 definitely did not. Okay, question number 2. What's your mantra?
Oh gosh.
Or just anything you tell yourself over and over again.
I think there's the song lyric that lives rent free in my head as I travel the world. And that's the lyrics to What a Wonderful World by Louis Armstrong. And you also know very well my connection to the great city of New Orleans and jazz music. Didn't even get into it, but my family does the Mardi Gras parades every year. And the main lyric would be, I see friends shaking hands, saying, how do you do? They're really saying, I love you.
No.
And anytime I see people around the world speaking a different language, but just excited to see one another and enjoy their company and appreciate the friendships and families that they have. that song lyric rings in my head, and I just have to smile a little bit.
No, I love that. That's amazing. Okay, last question. What does wealth mean to you?
What does wealth mean to me? It's not one number. It's not having the money to do everything you could ever imagine, but it's having the ability to make free decisions with what you do with your life, and to not be scared to take risks, I think would be a quick way to summarize it.
I love that. I 100% agree. And just like having faith in yourself too, I think is such a big one.
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm not loaded. I don't have $1 million or anything like that. But with what I have, I was comfortable enough to take this crazy leap, and I'm still hanging in there, still doing okay. So hopefully the viewers will get some inspiration as well.
Oh, I love this. Well, this has been absolutely awesome, John. Thank you for coming on the show, and good luck today with your marathon.
Thank you so much, Olivia. It's been a pleasure getting to be here. I really appreciate you inviting me, and I'm looking forward to getting to see you in person in the future, whenever and wherever that ends up being.
I know. Who knows? I have no idea.
It could be Houston, New Orleans, Colorado.
Who knows?
I honestly wouldn't be surprised if it was outside of the US, though.
Yep. I love it. Well, thank you, John.
Take care.
Thank you so much for listening to Wanderlust Wealth Show. Now, don't forget to follow the podcast, or if you're watching on YouTube, make sure to hit that subscribe button. If you love this episode, it would literally mean the world to me if you shared this with a friend or a family member, or literally like anyone off of the street. Like right now, go ahead, share it so you don't forget, or post it on social media and make sure to tag me. I love seeing what you're listening in on and what you resonated with, and I'm just so freaking thankful for you. I'm so freaking excited for you. I love you, and don't forget, life really doesn't have to be hard.